Hello, welcome to our lesson. This is Jenny.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Avery. So we chose the task NBTI 2-1 from the Jump Math workbook, comparing numbers using the greater than sign in grade 2. In this task, there are 4 different types of questions that each allow the students to focus on identifying the greater number. In the first set of questions, students are required to fill out the numbers and the symbol, which allows children to recognize the symbol and how to use it. The next set of questions prompts students to circle yes or no if the equation is presented true, which allows students to look at 2 numbers shown, and given the information they should already know, which is the greater than symbol, they can determine whether to circle yes or no. In the next set of questions, students have to circle the larger number and write the numbers in the correct blanks. The last set of questions is similar to the third task in that students have to circle which set has the bigger value and write these values in the correct blank.
So these are our objects of learning. The first one is inequality is an imbalance between two numbers or sets and can be expressed by using the greater than sign, and the less than sign. The greater than sign is used to indicate a number set that has more than another number or set. The less than sign is used to indicate a number or set that has less than another number or set. And finally, equality is a balance between two numbers or sets and can be expressed by using the equal to sign. The meaning of these signs is what we chose to focus on for this lesson, as well as our supplementary task, which we'll talk about more later. What do we intend students to notice? The first thing we want the students to notice is the number on the left side of the sign must be larger than the number on the right side of the sign. We think that this is also what the designer intended for the students to notice. The second is that the sign itself goes from a big opening to a small point, which can help with visualizing what the sign means. And the third thing we want the students to notice is that the sign means greater than. And we also think that this is another concept that the designer intended for the students to notice. And one other concept we think that the designer wants the students to notice is that comparing numbers can be presented by the greater than symbol, and it can enhance the students' understanding of relative values by having the symbolic and visual representation.
So, what do the lesson designers hold constant? As we highlighted in the picture, the lesson designer only used the greater than sign and didn't introduce the less than sign, which helps to keep the task simple and focused. This ensures that the direction of the opening and the point stay the same. By keeping this constant, the lesson allows students to focus on recognizing patterns and understanding comparisons without the added complexity of switching between symbols, such as the less than or equal to sign. This approach reduces confusion and helps students build confidence with one concept before introducing the next. Now let's talk about what the lesson designer vary. As we mentioned earlier, this lesson focuses on learning the greater than symbol, but there are still several elements that change to provide students with different learning experiences. First, the numbers used in the comparisons vary while the sign is fixed as greater than. The lesson includes both one-digit and two-digit numbers, allowing students to practice with the range of values. Next, the types of tasks students complete also change. Some task provides a sentence such as 72 is greater than 41 and must rewrite it using the greater than symbol. The next task is where students are asked to evaluate a given statement. Students have to decide if it is correct by circling yes or no. In another activity, students first identify the larger number from a pair, then place it in the correct position within a comparison statement. When the designers list two numbers, they make sure that the numbers on the left isn't always the bigger number. This ensures students to think carefully about the value of each number rather than relying on fixed pattern. Finally, the lesson incorporates visual models to represent numbers, allowing students to notice that numbers can also represent quantities. This allows students to observe, count, and compare amounts in the concrete way. The variety of tasks and representations reinforces understanding and keeps students engaged as they develop their comparison skills.
So before we talk about our supplementary task, it is important to note that the lesson we chose already does a really good job at generalizing the greater than sign. In all of the tasks within the lesson, the sign is kept in the same direction, which is the critical aspect, while the non-critical aspects, which are the values and where they are placed around the sign, varies throughout. Some other ideas for generalization that we could incorporate into our supplementary tasks is using objects or dots instead of numbers and base 10 blocks, using shapes in different sizes, and replacing the sign with a crocodile, emphasizing that the crocodile eats the greater number. And you can see all of these examples in our slides. So for the supplementary task, we decided to focus on contrast and implement the less than sign and equal to sign. Introducing the less than sign separately will help students to understand that the sign means something different and that using different number language is also happening. Once the less than sign is introduced and made clear to students, we can provide questions like the one in the slide to ensure that students can distinguish between the two signs and make comparisons between numbers. Introducing the equal to sign gives students a symbolic representation of two values that are the same and further develops their understanding of what the sign means, especially when preparing for later math. In the example we provided, students will determine the correct sign and explain why it is or is not correct. And that's all.
That's all. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
watching.